All right. Turn my headphones up. Are we good? Am I live right now? Looks like it. Okay, so the other day I watched a video from James Klug about the gender ideologue extremists in Southern California and how they don't know what they're talking about. And they ask, why do you care? Why are you in our business? Even though they have parades like 6 times a year. And they don't seem to understand why when you constantly shove this stuff in people's face and then they're like, no, we don't want it, and they're surprised by that for some reason. But we all know about that, and we all know how, the constant argument is like, well, you wouldn't let a teenager get tattoos. You wouldn't let a little kid drink beer. But for whatever reason, they seem to think that you can change your gender. Again, you can't change your race. People like Rachel Dolezal get laughed out of the building. You can't change your height. You can't change anything else. But somehow, some way, these people want you to believe that you can change your gender. And as I always maintain, I'll say it every single day until I die, that once you can get people to believe that, that's the big ask, right? So once you get that, everything else will fall into place. They will buy anything you sell them. So all that said, I came across this post on Instagram, of course, from ABC7 Bay Area, which is, an outlet that I actually grew up on, being from the Bay Area. Neither here nor there. And this post, these two posts back to back, right? So there's this one of this woman who's running for some school board or something in Novato or Marin County, just north of San Francisco, I believe. And then there's this story about how a guy was living illegally on the Stanford campus. So this is just how out of touch they are. So let's take a look at this one first. Stanford University is reviewing its safety procedures after a man was reportedly found illegally living on campus, the school said in a statement. Many students were convinced the accused imposter was in fact a student, the university newspaper Stanford Daily said. So, this guy was just living there. And everybody's so out of touch. Everybody's in their own little bubble. They're worried about, the transgender kids or January 6th or who knows what they're actually doing. They're collecting these checks. They're charging these kids through the roof for these useless pieces of paper. Meanwhile, they're definitely not safe, and somehow they're going to point the finger at somebody else. Nobody's going to really take responsibility for it, but I do have the article pulled up, right, because I will, of course, click the link in bio. And man accused of illegally living on Stanford campus for 10 months, okay? So for almost a year, Stanford confirms a man lived illegally on campus for nearly a year after posing as a student. The university said the man was reported on campus several times since December 2021. And you can also see, it's gone now, but they have a little story about Kyrie because Kyrie's in the news. Separately from this, of course, the man pays $500,000 to a shakedown organization a shakedown grievance organization, and then still gets suspended from the team. That's completely different. Maybe I'm sure everybody's going to be talking about that. This one is probably going to fly under the radar because it's a local news outlet. But so while these people can't keep these college students safe, apparently, they are also, this very same news outlet is basically railing against a woman who's running for a school board in a San Francisco suburb. But I want to start with the Instagram post because that's what I saw first. I haven't read the article. I think there's like a 8 or 9 minute interview that they have with this lady. But I want to talk about the framing a little bit because let's look at this. From ABC7 News Bay Area. T-I-E-F, whatever. Tiff Gibbs Jensen is a Novato Unified School Board candidate. Here is what she said when we asked her about transgender youth. She is one of 9 candidates running for school boards / town councils in Marin County, supported by an anti-vax group called Marin Freedom Rising. Tap link in bio. And of course, I did tap the link in bio, and that's the story. But we're going to watch the reel first, the short.
The transgender thing.
Because look at this framing, though. Look at this framing. She's one of 9 candidates running for school boards supported by an anti-vax group. So this is her talking about transgender youth, but they have to throw in this anti-vax thing just to put it all in one disgusting propaganda burrito where they can't make one solid point, so they just throw all of their talking points and, like, you know, just throw it all at the wall and see if one part of it sticks. And I guess also we'll go through the comments just a little bit and see how people are feeling about this. But let's see what she has to say, because they've set her up as this sort of villain already because she's being supported by an anti-vax group, and heaven forbid she doesn't believe that a little boy can magically turn into a little girl. I mean, how dare she, right? Let's listen though. Let's listen.
Is a much greater issue. Okay, those kids are seriously mentally, they have mental problems. Okay,
that have been foisted upon them by social media, whatever, TikTok, crazy San Francisco parents, all of that stuff. So you can say it's a mental problem, but this has been given to them by the outside world. This wasn't happening when I was a kid in this very same area. This is very, very close to where this is at, less than an hour driving. Some years ago, this was not an issue. Not one kid. Yeah, you have the kid in class who like, maybe that kid's a little light in the loafers. Every single person remembers that one kid who might have been gay, right? But it was nothing like this. So yeah, I guess you can say it's a mental illness, but it's been foisted upon them by manipulative, brainwashed parents and, I don't know, the social media landscape. Oh, hang on.
They're having very, very tough time processing their sexual identity. My daughter had a friend in high school who decided she was a boy, okay? And I discussed that with her. I said, I'm not gonna call her by her boy name. I understand that you think that's disrespectful, but I'm not gonna do that. When kids are younger than 18, the school should not be involved in any way about their sexuality. It should be between the parents and the kids.
Do you believe the school should allow that child to go by their preferred name?
I don't know. That's a really tough question.
What's so scary to you about a young person deciding that they want to transition?
Why are you so, why is that scary to you? It's not scary. It's just completely made up. It's not real. Like, what, how come you don't believe that this little boy is a girl? How come you don't believe that little girl is a boy? What's wrong with you? Why does that scare you so much? You old dinosaur? How can you not be in tune with these little kids and this weird agenda that we're pushing? Are you crazy? You're so rude. You're mean. You're gonna run for school like this. They're setting her up as a villain when she's not saying anything crazy, just like they did. Well, the list goes on. Trump, Kanye, Kyrie, Alex Jones. If you don't fall in line, they're going to paint you as a villain. And unfortunately, some people are going to buy it still, even though we can tell, like in the James Klug video from the other day, you can see that like weird little Antifa person with the mask and the hat or whatever, like covering up his face or whatever. You can see that they never really thought about it. Right. So she's kind of like, I'm too dug in. I have to stick with it now. I can't be on camera having my mind changed by logic and facts. And I don't really know where I was going with that, but it's just that I guess the point is people are choosing not to think about it, because if you do think about it, you have to come to the conclusion that it doesn't really work. Oh, that's what I was saying, is that the little Antifa bot in the James Klug video admits that, well, if all else fails, then they can just adopt. So that person knows that, mutilating your body is going to keep you from having kids, because they were talking about sterilization. And they accidentally admitted that it's going to ruin the functionality of your body, so they have to adopt, right? So even those radicals know that this doesn't really work. And so this reporter, this fake news ABC reporter, is trying to paint this woman who's just saying, teachers shouldn't be involved in students' sexuality, trying to paint her as this mean person who is scared of transgender kids. I mean, how dare you?
Because I don't think it's biologically possible, and I think you're lying to kids.
Exactly.
You're either a boy or a girl.
You don't believe in transgender?
No. The transgender thing.
Okay, so that's the clip. that they posted to Instagram. I haven't watched the full interview yet. We're going to do that shortly, but I want to look at some of these comments. Bruh, how does she not understand the difference between sexuality and gender? This is, of course, a weird Bay Area wokey. So you can pretend that they're different, and that's what they do, right? Is they will always not only manipulate and mutilate the actual bodies of people and children, but they will do the same thing with the words, right? And that's how they gain control. Gender-affirming care and climate catastrophe and defending democracy and trust the science. All of those phrases that they make up is all about control. Obviously, I'm preaching to the choir here. I think if you have seen this, I don't know how to get across the aisle, right? Before you could sort of make your point, and then people would, I guess, understand it, and that would be sort of their red pilling, so to speak. But that's why we've come so far to the point where you can't even have the conversation, because when you have the conversation, you have no choice but to accept the facts. You've painted yourself into a corner, so all you can do is ignore it, like Katie Hobbs, who won't debate her gubernatorial opponent in the state of Arizona. Maybe that's a weird correlation there, but that's what they do. They shut down the discussion, because if the discussion were to be had, it's painfully obvious that none of it makes sense, so they have to just say, no, we're not going to do it. Let's see what this one says. Mom of Steels. The crazy part is that 300,000 youth in the entire United States identify as transgender, and yet we are determining elections nationwide based largely on this one single issue. This is why our schools are trash. We are constructing curriculums and systems around 1.6% of youth instead of 100% of students who need to be educated to function in society. Stop basing elections, especially those around our education, on transgender issue. Yes, support our students through this particularly sensitive time and development, but please focus on, okay. All right, that's fair. That's fair. I don't know if those numbers are accurate. I think it's far less than that, I would say. Kids' brains are still developing. I wouldn't encourage something that alters your life forever. I understand that age limit of 18, because then you're a young adult, but also understand that school is a place to try out different things, and if they want to be called by a certain name, that's the best place to see if it fits for life. But I'm on both sides. Very conflicting. Okay, at least she's thinking about it, and rather than just shutting it down and being like, no, this woman's a bigot, a racist. These are the people that are always going to tell you to trust the science or follow the science until it comes to this transgender stuff, and then the science goes out the window and you just have to obey. Because that's what all of their euphemisms mean. Every single one of them, all of their weird made-up euphemisms all just mean the exact same thing, and that is obey. I think she's speaking the harsh truth. A lot of people out there are too soft to understand. Okay, yeah, that's a fact. That's a fact. Parents, these people are rambling on too long. She openly admits she disrespects children's sense of identity. Not the best choice for school board. Okay. Yeah, I mean, people are still bought in, and I can't stress enough, like, being from this area, it wasn't like this a decade ago. It just wasn't. Totally agree. It's one thing for an adult to make a decision, but a child is a child. Our youth stop. But a child is a child. Youth are youth, okay? Stop pushing these things on them and let those decisions come when they're adults. My heart goes out to all the children trying to work themselves out, and pity those who can't expand their mind. It isn't up to you what a child does with the help of their family and doctors. I'm for less government in deciding issues. It's not even about government. It's about medical malpractice, right? Like, any doctor worth their weight, is that the phrase? Any doctor who knows anything is going to, everybody knows that these Frankenstein bodies are not going to work. Whether you're 8, whether you're 18, whether you're 80, it's not going to work when you start slicing them up and patching together stuff and cutting stuff. Again, that's why they shut down the discussion. So, people are just rambling on and on and on. She needs to educate herself more on this subject, but it's up to their parents and respect their decision. Deal with whatever. All right, so people are buying this. The Bay Area, this is not like if you remember the DJ Academics chat section, who can see through all the propaganda surrounding Kanye, surrounding Kyrie, even surrounding Steven Jackson, who was coming after Kanye. Those people can all see through it. I don't know why. Maybe they just watch more YouTube videos, or University of YouTube. But these Bay Area people, for the most part, they they are on board with these transgender kids, which is just a brand new thing, and they're pretending like it's been here forever and it makes perfect sense, and it's just not true. One person does say we need more people like her. Okay, so that makes sense. All right, so there's a little bit of sanity here. Not much, but a little bit. Y'all are so blind. I transitioned when I was 13 and I'm 21 now. It literally saved my life. Again, there we go. It's always life and death. Just remember that if you don't capitulate to all of these things, somebody's going to hurt themselves. Okay, yeah. Crizzy 510, shout out. Looks like she's from Oakland. Vote for Tiff. Yeah, she's speaking facts. Agree. It's about time. On God. Okay, yeah, so this is good. You scroll down more. This is why the loonies need to be defeated. I don't know who they're referring to because that could literally go either way. Like, the people, the weirdo zombie gender ideologues will call a regular person a loony. So I don't know which way that goes. Sensitive subject. Why do you act like this is a crazy or wild viewpoint? Good. Exactly. So there is sanity in here. I guess the zombie robot sheep comments have been boosted to the top. Maybe they got more likes or something. I don't know. I don't want to go too tinfoil hat on that. But I do want to get to the full interview and see what else, because there's more. Just the framing of it is just crazy. How anti-vaccine, anti-LGBTQ rhetoric made its way into Marin County school board elections. So this is the link in bio from that post, and this is how they're framing it. Not, let's talk to a woman who's running for school board in Marin County. No, she's a villain, anti-vaccine, anti-LGBTQ. How did it get here? Because it doesn't make any sense. And you guys are pushing this on everybody, thinking that they're just going to buy it. And then when somebody says, whoa, hold on, maybe that doesn't really make sense. You're like, oh, she's anti this, she's anti that, she is a villain. How did we get here? And they're obviously trying to sabotage our campaign, but I think they're probably giving her some press. And I would venture to say that the parents, the people up in Marin County, it's a far cry from San Francisco. So while it's only a 20 or 30 minute drive, I do believe, at least traditionally, back in my day, they were, notoriously, it was like a conservative area. So I don't know. Let's see how they, from anti-LGBTQ platforms to campaigning against critical race theory, conservative candidates are vying for school board positions across the United States in these midterm elections. Surprisingly, to some, that includes school districts right here in the San Francisco Bay Area. Among them is the race for school board in the Novato Unified School District. So again, they're not even giving her a fair shot. They're just framing it from this weirdo lefty perspective of just an evil right-wing conservative who's anti this and anti that. And that's they constantly come up with new words and new phrases. Like another one I saw going around Instagram pretty heavily is anti-choice. So it's not pro-life anymore. That sounds too good. It's anti-choice. And of course, pro-choice is like the original euphemism, right? That's an old school one. That was like one of the first ones that they came up with. Pro-choice. It means, we're gonna okay, different subject. Let's watch a little bit of this interview. See if more context is going to put this all on the level. But as I mentioned already, they're trying to frame it as though this woman is just a terrible extremist who is anti-LGBTQ.
Showed you an effort by a Republican group in the South Bay to target local school board races. A similar but slightly less organized effort is happening in Marin County. Unlike the South Bay, the candidates there are not.
So she's mad that conservatives are organizing. They're not even trying to pretend to be neutral. It's gone so far. Let's just restart it.
School board races. A similar but slightly less organized effort is happening in Marin County. Unlike the South Bay, the candidates there are not talking as openly about those social issues, and some people aren't happy about that. But we did ask those questions, and we got some answers.
In a crowded election field, the biggest sign on San Marin Drive in Marin County is for one of the smallest races. Teef Gibbs Jensen.
I want you to give everybody one of these cards.
She's a candidate running for school board in the Novato Unified School District.
Hi, yes, it's Teef Gibbs Jensen. I'm running for school board.
Jensen is a mom of 2 recent Novato graduates.
Conservatives aim for school board seats. Okay, is that surprising that maybe some people are finally trying to shake up this crazy one-party rule that's been happening in San Francisco in the Bay Area for decades now. Like, oh, how dare they? I mean, why don't you just move to Arizona?
And a local business owner. We met up with her in the final weeks of her campaign while she was walking her district door knocking.
And then we're going to walk up that way.
I have walked my entire district at least once, and now I'm on my second go-round again. And the number one thing that people are concerned about is the financial well-being of the district, and that's where we need to keep our focus.
On her campaign flyer, Jensen talks about the ABCs, which she describes as accountability, back to basics, and children first. What's not obvious from reading it is that Jensen is one of the most vocal conservative activists in Marin County. She actively campaigned to recall Governor Gavin Newsom.
Oh no, she campaigned to recall Newsom. Well, a lot of people did. They're pretending as though anybody, I mean, it's just so outrageous that anybody would even try to run for office from a different point of view. I mean, how could this be? She doesn't like Gavin Newsom, right? The same guy who slept with his campaign manager's and best friend's wife in some like weird swinger party, admitted to being an alcoholic, went to outpatient AA or something, and then said that you guys all got to stay home, you guys all got to get the shot, but I'm going to go out to the French Laundry and have dinner with lobbyists. She doesn't like that guy? How dare her?
Has organized protests against the COVID mandates.
It's segregationist, it's discriminatory.
And threatened to
Facts.
boycott businesses in Novato that required showing proof of vaccination.
I'm on record as being against the COVID vaccine.
Yeah, thank you. And that's okay. She's allowed to do that, right? Everything that they keep pushing on us, like as though it's just par for the course, like this is all just normal. No, you guys were the ones that flipped everything backwards, right? Nobody was showing you proof of their shot to get into a restaurant, and then you do it and pretend like how I mean, is that weird? No, dude, you guys did that. You foisted that on us, and now they want to have amnesty, right? Like what? And they're again, for the last time, maybe not the last time, they're painting this woman as though all of her positions are extreme, and literally none of them are extreme. It's just backwards, bizarro clown world. I don't know any better way to describe it.
Okay, I don't
Are you
believe.
vaccinated?
No, I'm not.
Oh my God.
I don't believe that kids should be forced to get this.
No young people have died of COVID in Marin County, but they have died of suicide.
Jensen says her campaign is not about state or national politics, but her candidacy is part of a larger trend happening across the country, including the Bay Area. Conservative candidates running for small down-ballot races.
It's not even about being conservative, though. Think about this. This is about common sense people just coming up and saying, all right, enough with this insanity. You do not have to be conservative to push back on any of this stuff. You do not have to be quote unquote. Is it really conservative to say that I don't think that a little boy can become a little girl, and I don't think that kids should be forced to get yet another pharmaceutical to go to school? Is that really conservative? I don't think so. It's common sense. They're pointing across the aisle like, oh, conservatives are taking over. No, it's common sense pushing back against this insane tyranny.
Local elections are nonpartisan, right? So officially, they're not running as a Democrat or a Republican.
Dr. Sarah Hale is a political science professor at Cal State Fullerton.
If you can make it not about party, folks might have a better chance of actually winning a seat and influencing policy.
This is a dramatic year for this kind of activity.
Pat Johnstone is the chair of the Marin Democratic Party. She says she's never seen anything like it.
The Republican Party in Marin County, I think, has a registration of about 18%. So we're a pretty blue county, and so it's often that Republicans don't even run.
Johnstone says Jensen is one of 9 school board and city council candidates across Marin County supported by Marin Freedom Rising, an anti-vaccine group. Also on the list.
Marin Freedom Rising. Oh, so scary. They don't want to be forced to put something in their body that just came around the corner in the last year and a half. It's just, I mean, it's so scary. Can you believe that this group of people won't obey? Right? These are the same people, again, that will constantly tell you to follow the science, and you're not a doctor. Gavin Newsom's not a doctor, and he's the one telling you that you have to do this while he's texting people from the French Laundry, right? So, he gets the advice from Dr. Fauci. Oh, little Dr. Fauci says that you... No, bro. That little flip-flop weasel. Remember at one point, Dr. Fauci said that you should be wearing goggles? Those are the people you're taking advice from? So again, the same people who will constantly tell you to follow the science until it comes to transitioning little kids. Then you don't have to follow the science. The same people who will tell you, you're not a doctor, you can't speak on that because you're not a doctor, you're not a scientist, but Gavin Newsom, crooked, corrupt politician for decades, he's the one shouting the orders now, and you got to listen to him. But he's not a doctor. What am I missing here?
List Faye Barrett, a candidate running for school board in San Rafael.
Faye by the Bay.
Like Jensen, Barrett is running for office for the very first time. She says she also wants to focus on learning loss during the pandemic.
Exactly. So here's the thing, too, is that these two women are running for the first time. I wonder why. Why? Why would that be? That they're running for the first time is because this crazy establishment finally overplayed the hand and woke up some people that they probably should have just left alone, and they could have gotten away with skimming off the top and all of their corruption that nobody cared about because the weather was good. And then you just overplayed the hand, and now you've woken up these little old ladies who are like, enough, bro. Let's do something about this.
Academic skills, basic skills, that's my main issue.
But when it comes to hot topics before the school board, like discussing LGBTQ plus issues and gender identities in school and COVID vaccines,
that's not even real. That wasn't a discussion a decade ago, 2 decades ago. It's brand new, and now they're pretending like this is a kitchen table issue, gender identity in kids. No, it's not. It's fake. It's AstroTurf. It's airdropped from some weird man, organization, they, them behind the curtain who's forcing it on people. It's not authentic at all.
Barrett did not give us clear answers on where she stands.
Are you vaccinated? Like, do you believe in vaccinations?
Well,
That's private. That's a private matter.
I'm not going to answer that question because that is, I think that's private medical information.
Do you believe kids should get the COVID vaccine?
It's up to their parents.
Johnstone says she believes this is strategic.
In their campaign materials, they're being sweetness and light about building the community and things like that, and it's hard to know what their full agenda is.
I'm not trying to cover anything up, and I'm certainly not trying to, obfuscate anything.
Jensen says fiscal concerns and learning loss are what's motivating her to run, not social issues. But those are the issues that are firing up school boards across the country, particularly issues around LGBTQ plus students. School boards and states have been enacting legislation to restrict students from talking about these issues, removing protections for transgender students, even closing student newspapers for publishing pride issues. As for Jensen, she says she opposes the district flying the LGBTQ plus flag during Pride Month, which the current board approved during this meeting in May.
What the district is setting itself up for is if somebody wants to come in and fly a flag, then they are going to have to let them. And it could be the satanic flag. It could be the don't tread on me flag.
Well, are you comparing LGBTQ plus issues to the satanic flag?
See, and there it is again, the framing from these fake news people. No, what she's saying is you're opening the door to anything, right? Did you just say that LGBTQ plus IA barbecue people are Satanists? Well, the answer to that question is partly yes, but that's a different story. She literally said you're opening the door. Okay, I don't know if she literally said, but she is noting that when you do this, you are opening the door for people to fly any flag. And this woman draws the conclusion, well, you're saying that it's like that Jordan Peterson interview where the woman keeps saying, so what you're saying is, no, that's not what I'm saying. Well, so what you're saying is, no, that's not what I'm saying. Listen, but they don't even care. They don't want to listen. They don't have to listen because they are the machine and they're going to pump out the propaganda. They are going to pick and choose. They are going to frame all of this how they want to continue to push the agenda, no matter how extreme. And of course, it's going to get more extreme as people start to push back. They're going to go harder and harder as more people say, all right, enough, because they know it's sort of slipping. So they have to sort of, push harder.
And the rainbow flag to the satanic flag?
How about the don't tread on me flag? How about a Trump flag? How about the Russian? How about the Russian? How about the Russian flag?
Jensen went on.
You don't think that the rainbow flag is political? Give me a break. It's clearly political.
On to say books about transgender people should not be allowed in elementary schools.
The transgender thing is a much greater issue. Okay, those kids are seriously mentally, they have mental problems. Okay, they're having very, very tough time processing their sexual identity. My daughter had a friend in high school who decided she was a boy, okay? And I discussed that with her. I said, I'm not gonna call her by her boy name. I understand that you think that's disrespectful, but I'm not gonna do that. When kids are younger than 18, the school should not be involved in any way about their sexuality. It should be between the parents and the kids.
Do you believe the school should allow that child to go by their preferred name?
I don't know. That's a really tough question.
What's so scary?
Okay, so that's even good how she doesn't just sort of jump into some sort of talking point. She actually thinks about it and she says, you know what, I'm not quite sure. And that's fair. That seems honest to me. But this woman, Liz Kreutz or whatever, is going to keep pushing like, well, yeah, how dare you? What's so scary? And this, of course, is the part from the Instagram clip that we saw earlier.
To you about a young person deciding that they want to transition?
Because I don't think it's biologically possible, and I think you're lying to kids. Kids are,
yes.
You're either a boy or a girl.
You don't believe in transgender?
No.
It's horrifying.
Among those living.
Wow. So right after that, they clip to this handsome young lady who's going to tell us why that woman is an extremist. This old man dressed up like a woman in a wig, in a red wig.
In the district Jensen hopes to win is Suzanne Ford, a trans woman who is the executive director of San Francisco Pride.
Is a book about a young child transitioning appropriate?
No.
Ford was hurt and outraged when we showed her Jensen's comments.
That she could equate being LGBTQ with mental illness.
Are you kidding me? She's equating LGBTQ with mental illness? No, that's not what she's doing. What she's saying is children and adults in this particular case who think they're the opposite gender might have a little bit of a mental instability. And this guy is obviously proving the point. Suzanne, give me a break with the, like, this is a parody. This is just like Dylan Mulvaney or the Canadian teacher. So obviously this quote unquote reporter is going to bring in, now this is obviously the extremist person. This is the one that they're going to say is, this is all normal. It's been like this for years. No, this is an old man dressed up like a woman pretending to be outraged because another woman doesn't believe that kids can just magically change their gender. And that's so sad and offensive and hurtful. Oh my word, my pearls are clutched.
Illness in children is insane.
No, okay. So what we're to believe is that, first of all, the mental illness has been foisted upon them by people like Suzanne here and by the social media landscape and all sorts of stuff, whatever it might be. Because we all know that this wasn't happening in the year 2000. This wasn't happening in 2010 even. This is a overall new phenomenon. And they're pretending that it's just, how dare you? I mean, give me a break, bro. Like, dog, come on. Look at this. Look at this. There's absolutely no way that you want me to believe that this person is a woman and I'm the extremist. I'm the jerk if I don't buy this weird costume.
Ford says she feels Jensen has not been upfront about these beliefs during her campaign.
I do think they don't want.
She just said it. She just told you what she believed.
Want everyone to know what her real views are. That's why it's so important that we do these interviews with politicians and people running for office. We need to know what they really believe at the beginning of.
Give me a break. Are you kidding me? We need to know. They're not being truthful. Bro, you're the one not being truthful. You're literally living a lie, pointing the finger at a middle-aged woman. I mean, shout out to that woman. I'm not trying to what's her name? Teeth, right? You're the one, Suzanne, quote unquote Suzanne, who's completely living a lie, pointing your finger at a woman who's just had about enough of the pandemic nonsense and the LGQ whatever stuff, and it's finally like, hey, you know what? I'm going to run for office. And then you point the finger like, they're just, so crazy and offensive. It's insane. I realize that the term gaslighting is far overused, is overused, whatever, doesn't matter. But that's exactly what's happening. You're crazy. You don't believe that I'm a woman? No, bro, I don't.
Their careers. And hopefully we can make it a real referendum on those beliefs.
Dr. Hill says it's hard to predict how well candidates like Jensen will do in the November election.
Certainly in some areas, these are strong candidates who are doing really well and they have backing, but it's probably a more conservative area.
So here's what's happening. What I believe is happening is that they just overplayed the hand with everything from Rona to the Ukrainian war, Russia stuff, to the LGBTQRSTU, all that stuff. They overplayed the hand to the point where you have regular ladies, regular women, regular people who are just like, you know what, I'm going to at least try to stop. Now the machine, the establishment is so powerful and so corrupt that it's not likely they're going to win anyways. But the people who are surprised that these new politicians are coming up, they're surprised because how you didn't obey everything? What happened? We kept pushing all of our propaganda and you finally had enough, and now like I can't believe that somebody's going to even try to stop us. We're going to put a stop to them, but how dare they even attempt to stand up to this nonsense? It's just that is beyond us, right? We praise Pelosi and we praise Gavin Newsom and we just buy all of their nonsense. So when somebody who was running for a little local school board and says that a little boy can't be a little girl, I mean, it's beyond the pale. I mean, how did every single person not just fall in line with what we told them to do? It's impossible, especially in California.
You get surprises all the time, though. If you get your friends to door knock and put up the signs and write the postcards and all those sorts of things, you have a chance there.
Do you think messaging like this is going to resonate in Marin County?
In terms of teaching something or pushing something on other people or pushing them to accept something, I don't think that's a good thing. And I think the community doesn't want that either.
With the pandemic, folks felt like school boards were making decisions, but parents didn't feel like they were part of it. It woke folks up to, oh, school boards are important.
Yeah, they overplayed the hand. That's exactly what happened. Oh, well, what's going on? Now you got regular people trying to put a stop to it. Let's see how this lady's going to wrap this up, because she's a complete fake news Mockingbird media puppet.
And I do want to say that we know some people will find the viewpoints expressed by Jensen in our interview to be upsetting, but these are candidates for public office, and we feel voters deserve to know where they stand.
Would she ever do that the other way around? Would she say, well, we talked to this, weird old man in a wig and lipstick, and we know that some people are going to find that strange, but we have to put the truth out there. No, she would never do that. They're just pandering, like how she's scared of getting canceled just for talking to that woman. Just for talking to a woman who doesn't believe that trans kids should just be able to do whatever they want. Or you have to come out and sort of, prevent yourself from preemptively try to keep yourself from getting canceled for simply holding an interview with a woman who doesn't espouse all of the approved talking points.
Big picture, Dan and Karina, the number one thing I'm hearing from people on both sides of this issue is that voters more than ever this year really need to do their research on who is running, check their ballots and see where those candidates stand.
And really understand.
Exactly.
And your piece was eye-opening as to why we need to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see how different ways this is playing out in different parts of the Bay Area.
Exactly, and that's what we hope to show with these two pieces, that we do have these two different strategies. Some candidates running very openly on these issues, others are not. We'll see if either strategy works here in the Bay Area.
Well, as you point out, it is important to reveal all of this and let people express their opinions and let voters decide.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. All right. Well, that was so eye-opening. They frame it as though the woman's an extremist. She's absolutely not. And I hope that the folks in Marin County are hip to the nonsense. And just really quick, while that's all happening, so while they're talking about how this lady is an extremist and doesn't believe, she's not buying the LGBTQ, it's just so offensive. It's so hurtful that she doesn't buy this nonsense. While that's happening, over, across the bay at Stanford, this guy has been living illegally on campus. And just There was a guy when I was in school in San Francisco at the University of San Francisco. Shout out USF. I don't know how I crawled out of their indoctrination, but that's a different story. There was a guy, he wasn't he wasn't pretending to be a student, but he was like 40 years old and he was living with his little brother or his nephew or his something. I don't know, were they brothers? I don't know, but the younger one was in college at the school, and this old, like 40, 45-year-old guy was living in a dorm room with his brother. So that's what this kind of reminds me of. Now, of course, he wasn't pretending that he was a student. He was just like squatting in the dorm room with his brother, and I guess nobody really said anything about it. But so this is what it leads to, though, right? So when you have, weirdo agenda-driven extremists on the school board, and then you end up with those, the next logical step is these kids on campus, and nobody's paying attention, nobody's doing anything, and nothing's getting done. So this one's only 2 minutes. Let's see what they have to say. Oh.
Talk of campus.
All right, go back.
It's a story that's been the talk of campus. 20-year-old William Curry posing as a Stanford student for nearly a year, living on campus illegally.
Okay, so he's only 20 years old, so there's not anything like the story I have. But again, that guy wasn't pretending, he wasn't posing, he was just like a weird deadbeat living with his brother.
The story was broken by the university's newspaper, the Stanford Daily. Reporters Cassidy Dava and Theo Baker were tipped off by a fellow writer who lives in the university's Crothers Hall.
Armed with kind of the screenshots that I had gotten from that writer, which basically revealed through messages sent by an RA in that Slack that there was a squatter who had been living in Crothers Hall in the basement for weeks.
They say many students they spoke with were convinced that Curry was in fact a student.
There were sources in our article that were talking about baking brownies and eating them with this man.
The Stanford Daily also confirmed he'd been on campus for nearly a year with the university's knowledge.
He sometimes climbed through windows. He sometimes was able to take a student's ID card, according to residents who lived with him last year, and he was getting let in a lot of the time by people who thought that either he was living there with them or he was a friend of somebody living in the dorm.
The Daily confirmed that he'd stayed in at least 4 different dorms, something the university never communicated broadly to the campus.
He was able to weave a new story every single time.
Stanford University officials referred us to an online statement saying, in part, the university's Department of Public Safety has obtained multiple stay-away letters to present to Mr. Curry, but was unable to locate him until the incident on October 27th. They go on to say that they're reviewing procedures to make sure this doesn't happen again, including making sure information is shared with residential staff across campus if someone is found living there inappropriately. We reached out to Curry on Instagram, and he replied to us saying, "Sorry, I have nothing to add. As I'm sure you know, the school's newspaper has pretty much said everything they need to say about the topic, so I'm done discussing it." That newspaper says it will continue to follow up on this story.
I think a lot of people are still wondering about the unanswered questions, which is...
Okay, so for the record, I'm not going to be the race baiter here, but he is black, right? And nobody mentions that, and I can almost guarantee that if this were a white person, that would have been up front and center. Scary white supremacist squats on Stanford campus. And this is what these people are paying for. They're paying thousands upon thousands of dollars to go to these weird woke indoctrination camps, and they can't even keep the squatters off campus. It's crazy.
Really, how did this happen, and why did it happen?
At Stanford, Zach Fuentes, ABC 7 News.
Yeah. So that's pretty much it. And like I said, they're not really connected. It was just funny that those two stories were back to back on the ABC 7 News Bay Area Instagram. And it's like, dude, who is anybody even remotely paying attention? The woman running for school board, she's an extremist, and this guy's squatting on campus for almost a year, and they finally get to the bottom of it, and okay, I guess we'll make sure it doesn't happen again, and that's all they can say. This is a mess. So that's pretty much all I got. While I was, looking, I don't really research, just for the record. I just kind of obviously come up here and spitball like things that anyways, when I was pulling up these tabs just to talk about this, the whole Kyrie story broke about how he literally gave $500,000 to that bogus grievance shakedown organization and still got suspended. So that has nothing to do with this. Maybe it'll be another stream. Maybe we'll talk about it on the podcast. Unauthorized opinions with Andrew Says or Andrew Does, depending. So yeah, I don't know. I just had to mention that I know that's going on, and just so you know that I know. All right, that's pretty much it. And I got to do the please subscribe, comment, like, share it with your friends, all the stuff that a regular, popular, successful YouTuber would say. Next time.